about 20 years. Um, yeah, so hopefully we can do a nice little meditation and enjoy it. For context, we will be doing, so meditation is a bit of a charged word. Like, what is meditation, right? It could mean many things. In particular, we're going to be doing what's called shamatha, calm abiding, which is the process of meditating on an object and trying to keep our attention on that object for a prolonged period of time. In particular, today the object will be our breath. So we're going to be paying attention to our breath. And inevitably, as we pay attention to our breath, we're going to get distracted about our grocery list, what happened yesterday, what we didn't do last week, what we need to do the week after. That's okay, right? Like, having a mind means that we have thoughts and that we get distracted. But every time we catch ourselves being distracted, we'll just notice, we'll touch it. Hey, here's a thought. That's okay. We're gonna come back and allow our attention to go back to the breath, right? And that's the practice. The practice is losing your attention along the way, and then just coming back to the breath over and over again. And I'll give some instructions. Besides the breath, about every 7 to 10 minutes or so, I will let you know that we're going to chant, and we're going to chant the syllable Hung. And I invite you to chant it with me for about 2 minutes. This particular chanting of the syllable Hung was a practice given to our teacher Anne by her teacher Ansem Rinpoche in Tibet. She was asking for a practice that would be both simple and profound to everybody, from like somebody who's like it's their very first meditation to somebody who's been meditating for 50 years. And this is what he offered to us. My personal view on it, and it's a little bit like you're moving from a little bit of a simpler thing that is our breath and paying attention to our breath, which is kind of stable and we know it, moving a little bit to our attention to something more dynamic, like a sound. And then, hopefully we transition from like breath to sound to like, can you pay attention? Can you be present when you're with a loved one, right? Or when you're doing something, right? I think ultimately, I think a lot about like why even sit down and meditate, right? Which I think is important to think about. If you're going to ever have a consistent practice, you need to have a motivation that keeps you coming back over and over again. I think of meditation as practice to being present when we choose to be present. One of the biggest gifts we can give to our loved ones or to each other is our present attention, right? Being present with each other. Like how many times are you in a conversation and you're like, oh, wow, that person did not hear anything I had to say, right? And how different does it feel when you talk to somebody and you feel heard? It feels like they're listening and they're here and now, right? So if we think about it, we can offer that to others by practicing meditation, by learning to choose to pay attention. I could go on and on about other reasons why meditation is good, but you're here to meditate, not to hear me talk. So we'll start with, do we have little practice sheets? Yeah, so there's these practice sheets. I'm gonna grab one. So most Buddhist traditions, at least all Buddhist traditions that I know of, have the idea of compassion or bodhicitta, which is doing things for the benefit of other sentient beings. So we'll start our practice with the intention, which is these are back here. I haven't looked at this. Oh, it's in our screen. Wonderful. Thank you. Well, I'll just turn this guy a little bit my way. So our aspiration is just like what, from a Buddhist perspective, why we meditate, why we want to be present. So May all beings always have happiness and its causes. May all beings always be free of pain and its causes. May all beings always be pain-free and live happily. May no beings cling to those near nor spurn those far. For as long as space abides, as long as the world remains, just so long may I be there, resolving all beings' pain. And we'll start our meditation. Allowing yourself to arrive here. I like to move back and forth in my seat, kind of side to side, front to back, and find a place where both your sits bones are connecting with your seat equally, so that you're kind of evenly putting pressure amongst your seat bones. And then from there, we're kind of building the tower by stacking our spine, our vertebra, one on top of another like coins, until we get to our cervical spine. And in our cervical spine, we tuck in our chin a little bit so that kind of like almost feels like there's a string at the top of our heads. So there's a relatively natural line on in our vertebra from bottom to top. And once you've found that comfortable seated position, there should be like minimal amount of effort. I mean, there's still some effort, but it should be relatively comfortable and easeful. And noticing if there's any extra tension from the week around your shoulders, or maybe you're clenching your jaw or tightening your belly. And as you exhale, allowing some of that tension to go away, right? Letting your shoulders fall away from your ears. Your belly can relax. Your teeth move away from each other. So there's a little bit of space there. It's almost like we're letting our mind come home to the here and now in our bodies. Noticing your breath. Maybe you notice it at your nose, right where the air comes in and out there. Or maybe it's your throat. Maybe you feel your lungs expanding. And as you exhale, your diaphragm contracts. Or maybe you can follow it to the depths of your belly, to the dough, which is about 3 fingers widths down from your navel and 3 finger widths in, which is really where the breath starts. It doesn't really matter where you feel the breath, as long as you can consistently notice where it is and you can track it. Then we like to connect to 3 pillars of support. The first pillar of support is Earth. She holds us here without any expectations. She allows us to be here now so that we can meditate. Right? If you like to think about it, our spine, our seat is directly aligned with the center of Earth, regardless of where we are on her surface. We're always directly above the center of Earth as she embraces us with her gravity. So just feeling supported by her embrace and her protection. She protects us with her magnetic field from nasty radiation outside, and yet expects nothing of us. The The second pillar of support, it's our skeletal structure, allowing us to be here now, sitting, right, holding us up, just noticing the strength of our bones that allow us to sit and be present. And the third pillar of support is our central channel. Traditional Indian and Tibetan culture views this as where our consciousness resides, which is right in front of our spine, starting at our perineum and ending at the top of our head. Just feeling that allows our consciousness to be here in this body and supporting us to be present. And just simply noticing if our minds have gone distracted, and just gently nudging our attention back to the breath. And when you do notice that you have gone distracted, it's not a time to pass judgment of the distraction or fight the distraction, but also we don't grasp at the distraction. Just notice it. And, like an elder watching children play in a field, we don't really get involved. We just watch him playing out there and just bring back our attention in the present moment in our breath. And we'll chant Hung. Just being a little bit curious about how that affected your mind, your body. Maybe the answer is not at all, and that's an acceptable answer. Just inviting you to be curious. As that experience subsides, bringing the attention back to your breath. Noticing if any additional stress or tension has come back into your body. Letting it go with your next exhale. Conversely, if you're feeling a little dull and sleepy, as you inhale, inviting wakefulness and light back into your body just to wake yourself up a little bit with that extra oxygen, taking a deep breath. And maybe at times we notice that there's a lot of thoughts, maybe more than we had previously noticed. These are not necessarily new thoughts or different. It's normal, our minds are usually rushing. Turns out that if we have mind, if we have consciousness, we also have thoughts, and that's okay. Our job here is to not chase those thoughts, not fight those thoughts, but to nod your attention over and over back to our breath. It's also not a chance to judge ourselves for getting distracted. It's okay to get distracted. It's an opportunity to practice. It's an opportunity to come back to the object of meditation in our breath. We'll chant Hung again. Again, just inviting you to be curious. Coming back to the breath. Maybe allowing your breath to be a little bit deeper this time around, letting your breath start deep in your belly. As it expands, brings your rib cage. And as your rib cage expands, allowing your rib cage to expand radially, so really like your rib cage doesn't only expand frontwise or sideways, it also allowing it to expand backwards. And then at the very top of your breath, you should feel your collarbones expand ever so slightly as well. And try to make your exhalations just as long as your inhalations. We often forget this, but oxygen is the most important thing our bodies need to survive, right? We couldn't really survive more than a few minutes without it. So allowing ourselves to take deep breaths is like a little gift to our bodies, just nourishing them. And we'll chant home one last time. And bring your attention back to your breath. If you haven't been already, in our tradition, we like to meditate with our eyes open. The idea is that we don't meditate or run away from the world. We actually meditate to show up more present to it. So, as a symbol of our intention to show up in the world, we like to meditate with our eyes open. And when you do that, your gaze is casted in such a way that you're not really focused on anything in particular. We're just letting our eyes kind of just relax and take on the whole field. If you find that your mind is a little hyperactive, it is nice to cast your gaze about 45 degrees down. Alternatively, if you're feeling a little bit dull, you can look up a little bit, and that helps wake you up. Otherwise, you can just kind of look wherever your eyes fall and not focusing on anything in particular. Thank you for sharing your breath. Yes, absolutely. So you're going to see the book of names going around here. I think this is common in many traditions, but anybody in your life that might need an extra home, like right, like we dedicate the merit of our practice to all sentient beings, but occasionally, there might be somebody going through a tough time, might be sick, might have just passed away, looking for a job. Whatever inspires you, just to dedicate specific merit, you write the name here, and we'll share those names at the end of the practice as we dedicate our merit. Next up, I'm going to share a passage from this book, Comfortable with Uncertainty by Pema Chodron. This book is kind of like, each chapter is about a page, and it's kind of pithy, really insightful stuff. Pema Chodron is, if you're not familiar with her, she is a Buddhist monk. She's American, and she lived a lay life for a long time and became dissatisfied with lay reality, I suppose, and decided to become a full-blown nun. And I highly recommend. I mean, if you ever want to check her out, like all her books are super insightful into just living life as a Westerner. So anyway, I'm going to be reading page 102, chapter 94, Nothing to Hold On to. Instructions on mindfulness all point to the same thing. Being right on the spot nails us. It nails us right to the point of time and space that we're in. When we stop there and don't act out, don't repress, don't blame anyone else, don't blame ourselves, then we meet with an open-ended question with no conceptual answer. We also encounter ourselves. The trick is to keep exploring and not bail out. Even when we find that something is not as we thought, that's where we find that something is not as we thought. Oh, sorry, I read the same line twice. That is where we are going to discover again and again, nothing is what we thought. We can say that with great confidence, emptiness is not what we thought. Neither is mindfulness or fear. Compassion, not what we thought. Love, Buddha nature, courage. These are code words for things that we don't know in our minds, but any of us could experience them. These are words that point to what life really is when we let things fall apart and let ourselves be nailed to the present moment. The path of the warrior bodhisattva is not about going to a heaven or a place that is really comfortable. Wanting to find a place where everything's okay is just what keeps us miserable. Always looking for a way to have pleasure and avoid pain is how we keep ourselves in samsara. As long as we believe that there is something that will permanently satisfy our hunger for security, suffering is inevitable. The truth is that things are always in transition. Nothing to hold on to is the root of happiness. If we allow ourselves to rest here, we find that it is tender, non-aggressive, open-ended state of affairs. This is where the path of fearlessness lies. It's a really tough concept of realizing that our craving of security, our craving of not suffering, in itself brings us suffering. It's also interesting to think that there is nothing intrinsically bad or good about our reality. But trying to make a reality something that it's not, which typically means that we try to make it permanent, we try to hold on to it, or alternatively, we try to push it away, right? Aversion, attachment, right? We're either trying to have more, crave more of what we like, or push away what we don't like, what we don't, doesn't feed our ego, is in itself an action that brings us dissatisfaction because we are relating to reality in the wrong way. Reality is not there to either bring us pain or bring us happiness. It just is. So to the extent that we can be open and tender and here and now, we're able to slowly, like Harvey, our teacher, likes to say, become a little less dual, become a little bit more open, and we change our perspective. Maybe we can lessen our suffering. Anyway, that's my take on it. I'd love to hear from any of you. Comments, questions, reactions. There's a microphone. Also from afar, if anybody has anything to share.
I'll share that I've started spiritual practice too, as well as therapy, and it was a big perspective shift for me. It did kind of feel like the whole world turned on its side and my life became a mess, but I was happier after. It was really interesting and happier in a way that I feel like going forward, something awful has sort of been taken away. Like no matter what difficulties I may have to face, I feel like I will withstand them better just because I see them differently and I see myself differently and I deal with my emotional reaction differently.
Yeah. I mean, there's a version of generating bodhicitta, if you're not familiar with the concept. Bodhicitta literally means, bodhi means it's awakening, and citta means mind. So the mind of awakening. In Buddhism, it's kind of this, we cultivate aspirational bodhicitta, which it has 4 qualities: compassion, joy, love, and equanimity, right? So it's this idea that it's open-hearted, compassion, love, joy, and equanimity for everybody and everything we do. So in Vajrayana practice, we start our practice with like refuge. We take refuge in the Buddhas, and then we generate bodhicitta. We try to generate that as our motivation to practice. One of my teachers had translated it's samsara and nirvana are the same. One's perspective is the only difference, right? So like our liberation and our suffering are really all here. It's how we relate to reality that changes things. Or the Dalai Lama once said, and he was like, once you become enlightened, you realize that you were always enlightened. You just didn't know, which is total mind stopper for me. It's like, oh wow, so like we're always been there. We're just not noticing it. Yeah. Any other reactions, thoughts? Yeah.
I missed when you're reading like the first half of the chapter because I was writing in the book, but I heard your whole explanation, and I've read that book I think like 15 times. But with your explanation, it reminded me of what I think Lama Namgyal and Lama Rizin were saying a few weeks ago about, just with your explanation about the like the Buddha. Well, actually, I'd just be repeating exactly what you said. But when you said it, when you were giving the explanation, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like the Buddha nature is inside us, and that's every single thing. It's us who have a altered perception where we're not paying attention to that. And then also another reaction I had that I did catch while I was writing the book, but The Things Fall Apart, I've read that. That was the first book I read by Pema Chodron, and I've read that like 100 times. Like I love that book. Yeah. But I think that was one of a line was close to it in that chapter.
Yeah, she was talking about like letting things fall apart, right? Like letting our construct of reality fall apart. I think it's really what she's hinting towards. Of who we are, or what things are supposed to be. And I think when we let that fall apart, we can actually see what it is. Something else that comes up is, wow, I'm forgetting his name. But spiritual materialism. Jungim Trumbo, thank you. He talks about how the bad news is that we're all falling, right? Like falling in this no way that everything's impermanent. There's no ground. He's like, but the good news is that there's no ground, right? So we're just open.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the Pema Chodron chapter. I love her. I lived in Nova Scotia for about a couple of years ago, and I think Gampo Abbey is on Cape Breton, and I never got a chance to visit, but I was a part of that community. They had some of that community around the area. But yeah, to your point, what you were reading about, I think the most difficult thing I've discovered is what I would call putting your faith in the unfolding of fate. And it's really hard to stay in, just be fully present to what's happening, because there's such an attachment to our desire for a certain type of an outcome. And a lot of times what I've discovered in my life, the outcomes that my ego mind would attach to didn't happen. And in reflecting back, I was very grateful that what I thought should happen didn't happen. And I've discovered that the more I'm able to kind of go through sometimes it feels like a crucible to actually be fully present to what's happening when it feels very unpleasant. And it feels like you're in an inferno at times if it's really bad. But somewhere in that experience is something that is essential to learn. And if I am not being present, if I'm trying to escape, I'm going to miss out on a great learning in my life. So it's hard. That's why I come back to faith. You have to have faith in things that are unseen, that you cannot understand what's turning inwardly. Yeah. That could be of great benefit. So I thank you for reading that. It's really a good reminder.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there's maybe from a Buddhist perspective, we wouldn't say fate, we would say karma, right? And karma tends to be a loaded question, of like, people throw it around, good, bad, whatever. But karma really means like, on the one hand, it's like every action has an equal and opposite reaction, but it's also about like our habituation, right? Like we have certain karmas, means that we've done something repeatedly a one way over and over again, so we're habituated to act that particular way, right? By sitting with it, by going through that crucible, what we're doing is that we're allowing ourselves to have a choice. To not fall into our habitual pattern, to turn our habituation in a different direction. And the beauty of it is that it's up to you. There's a whole philosophical debate whether we truly have free will and agency, right? Like, I can't just like fly. But I think where our free will really lies is in these moments where we are present, where we could react the way we've reacted a million times, right? Like psychology would say we're reacted that way 40 years. I've been reacting the same way 40 years, right? Buddhism would say I've been reacting the same way 40 lifetimes. But it's that, we practice meditation that when we have the chance to react differently, we can be present and make a choice. Anyhow, I'm painfully low on time. Yes? Oh, yeah, please.
So,
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you.
I just really appreciate this conversation. This is the hardest thing to talk about in Buddhism without sounding stupid and sanctimonious. And I've really appreciated listening to what you all had to say.
Thank you, Nancy. Good to see you. Anyhow, let's breathe for about 2 minutes and we'll close her out. And just inviting your mind back home to your breath, to your present moment. Taking a deep breath in your belly and then exhaling out of your mouth, letting go of extra tension. And we'll close our practice by dedicating our merit. And I think we'll get the prayer up on the screen here in a second. By this good may I swiftly once become a great guru, lead all beings, everyone, to reach to that very ground. With all of you in mind, we light this lamp of clarity. May the glow of love, wisdom shine within us, everyone, till we all rise forth born in one enlightened mandala. And we dedicate our merit to all sentient beings, but in particular today to Anna and Harvey, Lara, Cosmo Bardo, Neto, Tiffany, Catherine, Sean, Donnie Bardo, Mom Bardo, Amy's Cortisos and employment issues, Caroline Steinbling's cancer, Robert Romero's mom, Valerie, Dad, Tex, Darcy, Nancy, Chewy Bardo, Sean Bardo, UWA, Alexis, Medak Sula, Tommy, Jill, Catherine, Robin, Dadley Bardo, all victims of war, Diana, Michelle, Joe, John, Celia, Rolando's, Emma, Nathaniel, Noah, Penny, Anlee Murphy, Brad Tewart Bardo, George Foreman Bardo, Toby Jackson, Greg Morris Bardo, animals, victims of oppression, and really all sentient beings. And we'll close our practice with a big ah. And as we say ah, we imagine and feel that first and foremost that we're giving light from our heart to ourselves, then light to this room. But as we give light to this room, we're reminded that we are also receiving light for everybody else in the room and online. And then just expand it, let it go wherever your imagination will go. This country, this planet, other multiverses, wherever your imagination can go, let your light go there. Thank you again for sharing your Sunday morning with me. Hope to see you again, and have a good rest of your Sunday. I think we have some announcements.
Yeah, I'll make a couple announcements real quick. First Sunday in April, here, instead of everybody craning back at me, I will move up front. First Sunday in April, we always have a first Sunday Dharma talk at 10:30, but April's going to be different. We're actually going to start at 10. It's going to be a longer Dharma talk because it's one of our Buddhism in 4 Words series. We will talk about karma. So the talk is at 10, meditation is at 11, and then as usual on first Sundays, we'll have free lunch at noon. Free lunch is my favorite part of everything we do, not just because we eat, but also because everybody sits together and gets to know each other. So that's my favorite. We have a Teaching Tuesday series that's continuing on first and third Tuesdays. You can ask me about it after meditation if you'd like to hear more. We also have some big retreats coming up in May. There's a week-long retreat, I believe it's the 12th through the 18th on POA, which is a practice for the dead and dying. You have to have some experience with our lineage of teachings to join that. But on the 19th through the 23rd, we have a retreat that's open to everyone with Kempo Yeshi. He is a guest teacher who will come and teach a prayer called the Ground Path and Fruition Prayer. So he will be here in person teaching for those 5 days. And again, you can just stay and ask me anything you want about it. So thank you.
Thanks. Have a good Sunday.
Thank you.